one of the greatest moments in my life happened actually at the Oslo airport a few years back when the second Dreamliner ever came to the airport. And it was because it was the first time, or let's go back to the topic today, was from idea to product or idea to reality. And this was one of the greatest ideas that had come to reality that I was a part of, that I got to touch. And I basically got a private tour of the Dreamliner. Boeing called me up, told me it was on its way to Norway. I had just moved to Norway, and it was a tremendous moment in my life. And I thought I would show you some of the things that came from the project I worked on. And what I'm not a designer, so it's a big misnomer. If you think you're going to hear about it from a designer, you're not. I am an anthropologist and a psychologist. And during my time at Boeing, I suddenly was given the title of design anthropologist for applying anthropology to the design and development of products and services. Just a little correction. And what my job was for Boeing was literally flying around the world almost daily and observing passengers, pilots, and flight attendants while they're working or while they're sitting there to come up with real needs, back to the hair on fire, for each of these groups that have something to do with airplanes. And some of the ones you can see are the display, the heads-up display for the pilots came from this work. The light-changing effects. How many of you have been on the Dreamliner? So you know what I'm talking about. Good. The windows change light to help you adjust to jet lag. This came from this study. And my personal favorite, is small people like me can now open the overhead compartments. That little, you can also see them on the 737s on the Norwegian planes. And if you note, you can also, for you tall people, I wasn't being, critical or discriminating just for me. It's also very possible to open those for tall people as well. So it solved something for both of us. So anyway, that's also what I'd like to talk about are my principles. And I believe in a people-centered approach to absolutely everything we do. And I have 3 principles that I hope will help you further. I am not a business person. I'm not in technology. But I believe in these principles, and I work with these principles every day to help my customers create meaningful, relevant, useful, desirable products and services, and even organizational change. The most important tool I learned in daycare center. As you can see from this picture, I am not the shortest person, that's why I like the picture. But you can also see that I did not grow up in the United States. I actually grew up in Asia, and my parents put me in local schools. So every time I went to a new country, I had to learn a new language and a new culture. And as a survival skill in this, I began very early on to observe people's behavior. Because if I wanted to make friends, I had to understand these kids from their perspective and not my own. And that is the tool, to learn to observe and listen to others from their perspective and not your own. Because when you have an idea and you burn for an idea, it's also very easy to close your ears and eyes and believe so much in just yourself that you forget to open up your eyes and ears and learn from others. So the balance point is, of course, how do you balance being bold and at the same time being humble and practicing a little humility as you go forward with your product or service. So that's my first principle for you. Dare to see things from another perspective. I saw someone who did this. So I decided today, I changed my whole presentation based on what I saw outside. And let's see if I've got their names here. I think I have it here. Yes, Audun and Fabian. What I liked about what I saw with them was that they are really talking about the social life of things. And it's not the first thing. Mobile phones have a social life of their own. And particularly today when we have Google Now telling us when we're about to be late to catch a plane, which happened to me yesterday, you realize how much of this is becoming a relationship of things. When I worked at Microsoft, one of the things I used to say to people was, can you please try and understand technology from its perspective? What is the server thinking? Now imagine the Internal Revenue Service, Skatteetaten in Norway. Imagine what the machines are saying in April when everyone is checking their taxes. That's when they're saying, nobody's listening to me, nobody understands me, I'm tired, I'm overworked. But we need to understand those things and understand what it feels like. And that's precisely what Auden and Fabian were doing with their relationship. Understanding responsible robots has to do with creating a relationship with the technology. So the technology understands us and we understand the technology. Perfect example. Auden and Fabian, fantastic. I have another story for you. This one is about my daughter. And if you note, I think she looks slightly arrogant in this picture. She was 2 years old then. Well, she's 26 and she still has that little look. But when she was 2 years old, she taught me something very, very important. By the way, you can tell she's Norwegian because she has a striped sweater on. All Norwegian children have that kind of striped sweater, and for the foreigners in the room, that's a very important understanding distinction. You will always know this. But what Åsa Marie liked when she was a little girl, 2 years old, was her mama's chicken soup, which takes 12 hours to make. I don't use instant. It's put the chicken in the soup and the water and you cook it up. It makes a nice thing, and you know it's perfect when it becomes like jelly. It cools down and it becomes like jelly, which I was in the process of doing when this picture was taken. The other thing she liked was a tasteless cookie. Now, in every culture, you find tasteless cookies that we give to children. And in Norway, they're called Mariekjeks. Okay? So what was she doing? I come into the kitchen and I yell at Åsa. I say, Åsa, what are you doing? And she looks at me, puts her little hand on her hip, and she says, Mama, I am making cookie soup. Now, this is important for two very good reasons. The first reason is this is a definition of innovation, taking two seemingly unrelated things and putting them together to create something that is meaningful, relevant, useful, and desirable to her. And this also pointed out how easy it is to destroy the natural creativity and curiosity that every single one of us in this room was born with. It starts with parents like me, and then it starts with our educators, and it starts with our places of work. All of these places ruin our curiosity and our creativity. And that is why my second principle is remain creative and curious and continue making cookie soup. And I would like to give you an example of this from out there. What did we find out there? Tomorrow's meatball in all sorts of different formats. We know that the urban view, I actually think this was supposed to be tomorrow's food for 20 years from now. I think we're going to see it in the next 5 or 10 years because the way we produce food is not sustainable. It's not in urban settings. We do not have the ways to deal with mega cities that are forming. And these ways of eating foods in different combinations is exactly that. So very nice example. Thank you, because it's much easier when I have examples that you can go explore afterwards. That was Space 10, by the way. They're a Danish group. Yeah. Now, the last principle I have for you comes from the work at Microsoft. I heard the first speakers talking about insight, which is almost causes Tourette's with me, like a twitch. And the reason for that is that the majority of people believe that insight is a phase. And it is not a phase, it is a philosophy. And for you who do insight in the beginning of your product development cycle and put it away, you will not succeed with your products or your services. It's very common. We go and talk to some customers in the beginning of when we have an idea, and then we forget about them. And it's very much like if I started in this room and whispered a word in your ear, and we went through the whole room and we ended up with Jack, Jack would have a completely different word. And that is exactly why people who do insight in the beginning of a product cycle or when they have an idea and leave it alone, they end up with terrible products or products that don't succeed. So the insight in that picture is that squiggly line. It happens all the time. You need to involve people throughout the entire process when you're looking at needs, trying to discover new areas. I love the woman who talked about the telephones and creating silence so that we didn't hear conversations. Perfect example of understanding a need. How do I go about looking at it? And then further developing that from the original need. You need to go back to people when you're getting ideas and help them generate the ideas with you. It's called co-creation. And in your teams, you need to be very diverse. And the reason I say this is there is a constant push, both in the United States and in Norway, for an increase in technology and maths. And I disagree. You also need the social sciences working with this because we need to balance technology with humanity. We need the balance so that we create products and services that are meaningful and relevant for humanity. And I would like to go a little bit further with this and tell you just how important this was. Howard and Martha were people, just everyday people, who worked on the products and services I worked on at Microsoft, and those included MSN and Windows XP. He worked on them from the ideation all the way into testing, and Howard alone, during testing phase, found more bugs in Windows XP than any other person working at Microsoft. And that's quite interesting, and of course it's quite natural too, because he's a normal person, and so he put a stop to things when he couldn't figure it out. Whereas IT pros, they kind of think it's cool figuring it out. He didn't think it was so cool. The point is, though, Howard died after 10 years of working with us, and when he died, I went to his funeral. And when I got to Arizona, I opened up my PC to look at my emails before I go off to this funeral. And there's hundreds and hundreds of mails from people I never met at Microsoft who knew Howard through our studies, who had either been to Howard's house or had met Howard in movies and videos and in pictures and stories. And Howard had made an impression on them, so they wanted to send their condolences. And the most important one was from Global Tech Support, the head of Global Tech Support at Microsoft, to tell us that a corner of the building had been called Howard's Corner, to remind us who we're creating together with, not creating for. And this brings me to my third principle, which is we should never be creating for people. We should be creating with them. When we create with people and not for them, we end up creating meaningful, relevant, useful, and desirable products and services. And then I come to the story that Jack also mentioned with the arthritis. And this was a very interesting story. I tried it. Of course, I found out I'm over 50. I found out that I, in fact, did have some arthritic fingers. I knew it from before. I had an idea, but she was able to test me. And what she talked about to me was to create good technology solutions, you have to talk with people. Not to them, with them. We have big problems to solve. Globalization, the environment, healthcare. And for me, the most important for you in this room is we need to have this balance between technology and humanity. We need to be thinking about that every single step of the way when we create new products and services. Are they meaningful and relevant to us, to the world that we live in today? It's all about people. Thank you.